sure. Yeah, maybe I can. Yeah, I can. Cool. I'll share
Okay.
the file with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. We generally record on the cloud, and that is what we are out of. All right. Getting on to the questions, right? First, regarding AR. So the AR support that we have is around this element called, it is called AR. What it allows you to do is place an object on any surface that you see from your phone camera, right? Once the object is placed, you will be able to move your phone around it. You will be able to walk around it and look at that object in detail. And that's it. What you can do is place 3D objects into your environment and observe them. The problem with the AR element is that it doesn't work on all devices. It works on iPhones. It works on Android phones, but some flagship Android phones. It does not work on all phones. There are a few hardware requirements for the AR piece to work. Older phones did not have a lot of the required hardware specs and the required software specs to be able to support this. So it works on a case-to-case basis. We cannot say that it will always work. That is the problem with the AR element. But yeah, this is the element in case you want to use it.
That's
And
great. That's okay. Thank you.
yeah.
And so we have an element like a okay, I don't know, maybe you're getting ready to tell us like how to actually put it into an experience like as an element so that it can be triggered.
Yeah. So let's do that. So I'm going to quickly just change the background over here. I might just use something better. Yeah, this and file imported and select. Yeah, so essentially we are in this room now, and what I'm going to do is add a trigger. Reset notification. The UI has changed a bit since you would have last used geometry.
Yeah, it
There's
has
no
quite
left,
a bit.
yeah. So whatever was on the left has moved to the top, essentially. So you have the add element here.
Oh yeah.
File manager. It's much
Okay.
sleeker now. So I'm going to just add a text. It says show AR object, right? And then what we're going to do is add an AR element. And it simply gets added to the scene. You don't see it in the scene because AR is supposed to work only in AR in your real environment, right? So this is a blank element which you don't see over here, but you need to trigger it. The way to trigger it is by adding a rule which says when this text is clicked, the AR element should appear, and that's it. And what you need to do in the AR element is choose any 3D model. Another of your question was what formats are supported. GLB or GLTF2, both are supported. Most of the softwares today support GLB. So whenever you're trying to export from TurboSquid or Sketchfab, you will almost always find that it is GLB compatible. Just download GLB and use it here.
So if we got something off of TurboSquid, we want to make sure it's GLB, or we have to convert it to GLB.
Yeah, GLB is quite popular now. Nowadays, you will find GLBs everywhere.
Okay. And what was the other format that you said, Saida?
GLTF2. GLTF2 is also like GLB. So when we didn't have GLB, everyone was using GLTF2. That's the older format that is supported. That's like a zip file. Whereas a GLB file is something .glb.
Right. But no OBJs.
No OBJs. No OBJs.
Okay.
OBJs are not generally optimized for the web.
Got you.
So what I'm going to do, choose here as an example is this Fox, right? So I'm just going to import it and select this file. The Fox is there in the AR element. Obviously, we cannot see it here, but if you run this experience on your phone, you should be able to place the Fox on a table. In case you want to try it out, you can. Again, no guarantees it works everywhere, but generally works. This is the QR code you need to scan to try it out.
Okay, so the element that triggers it can be, in this case, we're using text, but it could be.
It can be absolutely anything that you can add a rule for. So it could be things like when the user enters the scene. It could be things like when the video ends.
Right. Like anything else. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or for example, when your score reaches 10, then trigger this.
Okay. Can you change the scale of the GLB file once it's been once it's displayed by pinching or zooming?
Yes, you can. You
Okay.
can.
Okay. That's good to know.
So you can scale it. I think you can also move it by just tapping and moving it. And these features differ by phone, by the way. I think Google allows you to move it. Apple does not, as far as I remember. But yeah, essentially what the AR element uses is the phone's own capability of showing an AR element in the space around you, right? So
Right.
the phone has the power of detecting planes. So if you are sitting on a table, it will be able to detect that, hey, there's a plane for
Right.
table in front of you. It'll place the
Right.
object on that, or it will be able to detect the floor and place something on the floor.
Okay. Okay. So like anything like an iPhone 13 or newer
Should
or
work.
yeah.
That should
Okay.
work.
Right. Okay. That's pretty cool. We
Right.
could definitely use that, Tora.
Absolutely.
So moving on to the next thing, your next question was on games, right? So some of the games that we have designed in VR in the past are like Scavenger Hunt, right? Or Match the Following. Scavenger Hunt becomes really interesting in 3D spaces, right? Because you can have a lot of hidden places where you can keep placing stuff. And then you can also trigger these events based on your previous find. So like first find this item and only then find the next item. You can do things like those. So let's say you have a large puzzle and you are supposed to find things in order, right? Let's say you have to make a cake, for example. First find wheat, then find eggs, then find, and so on, right? You can
Mhm.
design games like those. For that, I would generally recommend that you use a 3D scene, because in a 3D scene you get a lot more freedom. You get the freedom to place items behind other things, hidden behind trees, hidden at various places. So you have not designed a 3D scene before, right? Or have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so a 3D scene is just like a 360 scene. You get the scene graph on the right panel over here under structure, right? As you can see here, we have just one 3D model, which is called environment over here. Then we have the pano image, which is this white background that we see over here, right? And then we have a
Right.
zone. Zone is essentially this green cylinder over here. Zone is the place where everyone is spawned. So whenever you enter the 3D scene, where is the user supposed to spawn from? That's
Gotcha.
defined by the zone. So you can
Okay.
control where the user comes up when he or she is born into the space. What I'm going to do now is just change the pano image background to something more interesting. White is blank, so let's go over to assets, pano images. Okay, I would have a lot of imports already, so I'm just going to go over images and see if we have something interesting. Yeah, maybe this or
Quick question. When you did that generate scene, is that out of the repository or is that something that will always come up when you hit generate scene, this particular model?
this model. This is our default model. So whenever you click on plus and click on 3D scene, that house is what you get out of the box.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Now let's say we want to replace that house with something better, like a bat cave or a campfire, right? You can do that by simply clicking on this element, environment element. So this is the environment element because if I hide it, it goes away, right?
Right.
So I'm going to replace this particular 3D model with something like a campfire, for example. So we have a lot of campfire imports from Sketchfab. I like this one. These models are all available for free on Sketchfab. So I'm going to just click on this, select, and you will see that this house gets replaced by a campfire.
Oh, okay.
Right. Whenever you import anything into geometry, it gets restricted into a 2x2x2 box.
Okay.
right? Because geometry doesn't know what its real scale is supposed to be. So it always fits something within a 2x2x2 box. We
Okay.
want this to be much bigger, right? So I'm just going to go over here and change its scale to 1.
Okay.
When that happens, you get a real life
Ah.
campfire scene.
Wow.
Right
Okay.
now, you will also see that there's a black plane over here, right? These black lines, which
Black lines. Oh yeah. Okay.
do you see them on the ground?
I see
Yeah.
them now.
This represents the plane that viewers will be walking on, right? So this gives you a point of reference to decide how high or how low your ground model should be, right? So here you
Oh,
can make out that the ground is a bit below the black line, right? So we need to push it up a bit. The way to push it up is just by unlocking it. Right now it is locked, so you can't move the environment. I'm going to unlock it. The moment I unlock it, if I click on it, I can drag on it. Now there are 3 ways to drag anything: drag, translate, and rotate. Uh, Generally use translate for very precise movement. So I'm going to turn on translate and then move this model slightly higher, right? And
Mhm.
here, now it is perfectly aligned with the black plane,
ah,
right? So now it looks much better when you walk. You can feel that you are really walking on it, right?
right.
Now the second thing to keep in mind is this blue box. This
Is that
blue
a
box,
guardian?
yes, exactly. It is the
Okay.
bounding box. This is the boundary that your viewers will be restricted to. They will not be allowed to go outside it. So generally, when you have buildings or playgrounds, right, this is what prevents user from jumping out the window, for example, right? So this is
Okay.
the full extremity of your experience. You can control this just by controlling the uh, the bounds like this. You have range X, range Y, and range Z. You can control the X distance, the Y distance, and the Z distance, right? So let's say I want to uh, increase it on the left side, right? The reason I know that this is the Z axis is by looking at this gimbal on the bottom right corner. So if you look at this right now, this tells me that the axis on the left and right is the Z axis, and this is the negative Z and this is the positive Z. What I want to do now is extend this box over to here. So I need to increase the negative Z. All right. So I'm just going to go over to structure, click on the scene, go to its properties, and change the negative Z from minus 4.5 to let's say minus 15. Right. And this extends on the Z axis. This still doesn't cover the playground completely, the campfire completely. So I'm going to extend it even further. So maybe minus 20. Let's see.
And this is Z, so we're extending it toward us, the viewer, right?
Uh, See,
Right now.
if I was standing here,
Hmm.
yes, it extended towards
Okay.
because it's Z.
Gotcha.
But what I did was
Right.
I walked over to this side and then turned around. So
Ah, okay.
now the axis towards me is actually X,
Right.
right?
And you're getting closer to the boundary of the
Yeah.
campfire.
Now what I want to do is extend it a bit on the left on this axis. Now this axis happens to be X-axis, the positive X-axis, right? So I think I have around 10 meters over to the left. So let me do that. Go over to the structure, scene, and increase the positive X from 4.5 to let's say 15. Yeah, this seems good enough. This is a large enough boundary for the users to play around in, right? So yeah, so these were the scene bounds basically. This is what controls the space that your users are allowed to move in.
Yeah.
Again, one interesting thing that just happened on the scene is the spawn zone went into the campfire.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm going to change that. I'm going to lock the environment again so we don't accidentally move it. Then head over to zone and then move it a bit outside the campfire. Just drag it over here. Yeah, and this is good enough. So people will spawn at this point.
So those are elements in the campfire, like the rocks.
Yeah. How do you
When Yeah, like can the user walk through them? Is it occlusion? Like, is it like, how is the interaction with the sixth off and those elements?
Perfect. So Before we head over to that, by the way, in this model,
Sorry, yeah, I
there's
didn't
an
mean to jump
inbuilt-
ahead.
No, that's my next point anyway. This model has an inbuilt animation for the campfire. You can just turn it on by going to properties and clicking on auto animation. So the campfire animates. Now,
Okay.
collision. What you're asking about, Jason, is collision, right? Do you collide
Right.
with the rocks? The answer is by default, you don't collide with anything. You're just going to walk past through them like I'm able to. For you to be able to collide with anything, we have an element called collider box, collider volume,
Ah,
right?
okay.
Now
Right.
I'm going to add a collider volume over here. Now no one can pass through this particular cube, right? What I can do is I
Right.
can scale up this cube and put these cubes on all the rocks so people cannot go through the rocks,
Right.
right? So I'm just going to place it over here. Maybe increase its size a bit. You can control the shape of the cube by changing its X, Y, and Z scale, right? So we want to extend it on the X axis. So I'm going to maybe make this 2.2, right? So yeah, it's a bit extended now. Maybe even on the Z axis. We need to select the collider volume and transform it. Yes. Right. So now this particular cube, no one can walk through. So when you try to walk through the stone, the engine will stop you. Right. I'm the editor right now, so obviously I can walk through it, but when you view it, the viewers can't walk through it.
Right.
Right. And with collider volume, you also have this advantage that you can choose the shape that you want to use for your colliders. So I'm going to add one more collider volume, and then here you can say what kind of collider volume you want it to be: a cone, a cube, a cylinder, a
Okay.
sphere, polygon, torus. All of these shapes are supported.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's
Right.
really cool.
So, yeah, maybe I'll make it a cone and place it over the campfire. Right. So people can't
Right.
walk through the campfire.
Right.
Right. Just scale it up. Yeah. So this prevents people from walking through this zone.
Wow.
Right. So we have so yeah, so that I think answers your question of whether how do you control what spaces a user can walk through. Now let's say you have a large building, right, with a couple of walls. If you don't want the user to be able to walk through walls, you can use collider volumes, essentially make cuboids that look like walls and place them on the walls. Then the user can't pass through walls, right? That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is by adding this thing called collider mesh. Okay. Collider mesh, we don't generally recommend because essentially what collider mesh does is that it allows you to select a 3D model, right? A 3D model that can be just like your campfire. So for example, and I'm going to hide the campfire and then select another campfire model as the 3D mesh. So let's say I select this, right? I'm going to turn on visibility. Essentially, what this says is that this particular model is something that no one else can pass through. So when you have a really complex model where adding collider boxes is tough or time consuming, you can use a collider mesh also. The problem with collider mesh is that it asks your computer or your phone to do double the computation, right? So for large experiences, this can make the whole experience quite sluggish. But when you have a complex space, right, where adding collider volumes is just too much work, we do have this option also, right? Or when you, let's say, have a curved wall where placing all the cubes gets quite tedious, you can use this.
So what kind of phone could actually run an experience with a collider mesh and have it be,
Yeah.
not, I mean, is it even possible on a phone, or is it more like a desktop with a really beefy video card?
It is possible on a phone. What matters is the poly count, right?
So you got to bake the stuff in.
Yeah, you need to reduce the poly count as much as possible. Phones today are capable of rendering around around 200K triangles, right?
Okay.
On every frame. So the moment you cross the 200K point, you will start seeing that the experience starts getting sluggish on your phone. At around 300K, it will start crashing.
200K.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a recommended limit. Is there on docs? Let me just double check it, whether 200K or 2 million. I think it was 200K. It's in guidelines, experience optimization, 3D models. I am wrong. It's around 50K, but yeah, this is an older limit. We generally now recommend around 200K
Okay.
triangle count, right?
Okay.
How do you find the triangle count? You can simply go over to the file manager and select the model that you imported, right? And on the right side, you will see the number of textures, the number of verticals, and the number of triangles,
Oh, okay.
right? So this particular model has around 11K triangles, which is well below the limit. So yeah, we are safe with this.
Okay.
Right.
Makes sense.
So what you need to keep in mind is whenever you are using the collider mesh, you are doubling the triangle count.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
So that's the problem with collider mesh. But yeah, for complex things, feel free to use it. You can use it. So yeah, that's the collider mesh. This is the, let me turn the environment back on. Yeah. So this answers your question of what you can walk through and what you can't. I'm just going to preview it for you and show you how it looks when I try to walk through the space.
So the second thing that you did, that was just the whole campfire scene as a collider mesh, and you hid
Yeah.
the other one. Okay.
Here, I'm not able to walk through this, and maybe it was not this rock.
Oh, this is
Where did we
cool.
place this
Wow.
one. Where did we place this? Here? Yeah, here. I'm not able to walk through this. I can actually jump over it.
Oh,
okay.
because the box was only around the base of the
Yeah.
rock, not the top.
Yeah.
Ah, that's
If you want, you
okay.
can increase its height so you can't even jump over it.
Mhm.
That's really cool. I like the jump. Yeah, that's wow.
Right.
You come a long way in the last year.
Yeah. So collider mesh. So that's the collider mesh. You can do a lot with the zone element too for gamification. For example, let's say you have a zone where you start playing a game, right? So what you can do is you can add a zone element by just clicking on plus and clicking zone. There's another way to place it by just duplicating the older zone. I'll show you the first method. Click on plus and click on zone. Now, whenever you add an element in geometry, you will see that it's not perfectly aligned because it depends on your camera orientation, how it gets aligned. The simple way to fix all of these orientations is this. Select the element, go to its properties, and make sure that the rotations are multiples of 90, right? Because when you have rotations of 90 degrees, you always are parallel to some plane, right? So here you can see that the rotation has strange numbers. They are -10, -136, and 8 degrees. I'm just going to change this -10 to 0, which is a multiple of 90, -136 to y, it doesn't matter, 0, and z to 0. Now you see that the plane is perfectly aligned with the cylinder.
Okay.
It is no longer at an angle with the plane. It is parallel to it. So now I can just move it down safely. And I'm going to turn it blue so we can distinguish between this and the other one. And I'm going to rename it to blue zone. Right. And let's say that this particular space is meant for the next stage or for the next round, right? And over here, you are supposed to do something like find a few clues or answer a quiz. And once you answer the quiz correctly, you are supposed to go over to the next zone. So as a proxy to all that, I'm going to do that. Sorry, were you saying something?
No, I'm just like happy. Like, you know what I mean? This is exactly working out how I mean, it's easier than I thought it would be.
Great.
until I try to do it. But yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I'm able to do it very
But that's why we're doing the
precisely.
video.
I want to give you a warning there. I'm going to do it really precisely because I have practiced with this. The first time you do it, it might be a bit frustrating because getting all the elements placed correctly, getting all the rotation angles done correctly takes a bit of time, right? So that is why I'm telling you these tricks to get all of it perfectly aligned. Just remember multiples of 90, right? So
Got it.
anytime you place anything, just change the orientation to multiples of 90.
Okay.
So here under transform, I'm going to do the same. It's 0, yeah, 0, 0, 0.
Okay.
Yeah, that rotation. And here, let's say, for a lack of my imagination, I'm just going to write here, let's begin the first round, right? Yeah. And yeah, I'm going to name this text element begin, right? So now I'm going to add a rule which says when the viewer, no, when the begin text is clicked, then the viewer should teleport to, we have a new teleport even now, should teleport to the blue zone,
Ah,
right?
okay.
So you can teleport the
Okay.
user wherever you want. So I'm just going to refresh this preview
Mhm.
and show you how it works. This can be used a lot in games, right? So let's begin the first round. I click on it and I end up on the blue zone, right? Now the best part, zones don't need to be visible. You can make them invisible. You can change their opacity to 0. What that means is if you had a hidden room or something that you wanted the user to find and the user steps into that zone, you can trigger certain actions,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
So,
Wow.
okay. So yeah, that is zone. Now let's add another rule. Let's begin the first round. And you want gamification, right? You want to track when a user does something or when the user enters a particular area to do something, right? So what you
Right.
can do for that is, so I'm going to tell you about variables and how you can use them. So yeah, again, multiples of 90. This is -8, so 0, this is -98, which the closest one is -90. And this is -8, so 0, right? And now we have this perfectly aligned text. I'm going to reduce the size a bit, right? And here I'm going to add a text which says enter count or number of times the user entered blue zone. Okay. Now, how do I display something over here? By the way, you will not need to display it many times in your games. This is just for your reference or to give you an idea of what really is happening behind the scenes. So geometry has a concept of variables. Variables allow you to track things, right? We have 3 kinds of variables: booleans, strings, and numbers. They're exactly what they say they are. Booleans are true, false. Strings are simple English sentences or English words. Numbers are numbers, right? Not decimal, not decimals, just simple integers. So I'm going to add a new number variable and I'm going to call it blue count, right? And the default value is going to be 0. Okay. Now, what we'll do is we'll start displaying the value of blue count in this text element. The way you can do that is by adding 2 curly braces, right? And writing blue count like this over here. For me, because I'm the editor, you see it as simple text, but when you preview it, you will see the value of the actual variable. So let's just see how it looks. It will look like this: 0. The number of times the user entered the blue zone is 0 right now, right? And here I'm going to add a new rule which says when the viewer enters blue zone, then the value of the variable, which is blue count, should add a number 1. So every time I enter the blue zone, it's going to increment by 1, right? And now you can use this for a lot of funky things. Like if you enter the space once or twice, then you would need some other portal to open up to take you to another scene where you have the next round or the next puzzle. You can do that. So I'm just going to click on this. I entered it once. right? So I see 1 here, now it's 2, now it's 3, now it's 4, right? So every time you enter the blue zone, the count increments. Now this variable, right? You can do a lot with this variable. Like you can track things like, did the user answer the puzzle correctly? Did the user manage to find the item that I wanted him to find? Did the user, I don't know, so look at the whole video from end to end. So when the video ends, increment this by 1, right? And then you can use the score. You can have multiple scores, right? Like right now, I have a score called Blue Zone. You can have multiple scores, and then you can add funky logic to the scores. When the score reaches 10, then open the door that takes you to the next round, not before that.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right.
Or
So-
make another zone appear and then
Yeah,
enter
yeah.
that zone, and okay.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Right. Wow.
Right, and then you can have multiple scenes. So this could be a round one scene. Then you can have a round 2, and you go from round 1 to round 2.
Ah,
when your
right.
Score enters 10. When your score is
Okay.
above 10.
And
Um,
Sahil, when you're going from round to round, does your polygon count go back to 0? Are you?
It
are
does.
you st-
It
Okay,
does. So
good.
polygon count matters only per scene. If you
Okay,
have
great.
another scene, you again are starting from fresh.
Okay. And because Jason and I've been working on some historical pieces, how troublesome are old photos or even brief videos?
Photos
How
and videos are perfect. Okay,
They're okay now.
don't count a lot towards your poly count.
So they're okay. They're not going to
Yeah.
jam us up.
No.
Okay.
Just make sure that the images are optimized. When I say
Okay.
optimized, I mean, let's say you have a 800 cross 800 pic, or a 10 megapixel photo that you take from your iPhone, right?
Right.
Just make sure that you take them through Squoosh.
I think I used that panda, some panda something. I
That
forgot what.
you were using Tiny PNG then.
Yeah.
Tiny PNG,
Yes.
right? Yeah, that's
Correct.
good too. Yeah, you can use that.
Okay. It works well.
Yeah, use that by all means.
Or Squoosh. Okay. Okay.
Both are good, up to you, and doesn't matter what you use. Just make sure that you take your images through this once, and let's say, so that there's another thing to keep in mind here. So let's say you have an image over here that is taking not a lot of space. Okay, I was not in the editor here. So I'm going to click on plus, add an image, right, and replace it with something nicer. So my imports, images. Let's say I want to display this bookshelf over here for some reason, right? And I'm going to reduce the size by a bit. Now let's say in my space I wanted to display an image like this, right? What I would recommend doing in this case is also reducing the size of the JPEG that you're using.
Okay.
For example, this JPEG is right now 1600 cross 800
That's a
wide,
lot.
right?
Okay.
This is a good resolution. It's not extremely high, it's not low. This is good. But the thing is, in your space, you're using it at a much lower resolution. If the user is only going to see this bit, right, you don't
Yeah.
need to see 1600 pixels. You are good with 400 pixels, because or see on my screen, this barely takes 200 pixels.
Right.
Right. So you are
Right.
good with a 400 cross 200 image also. So the extra resolution, which is 1200 cross 400, that is a wasted resolution. You can save bandwidth by reducing the size too.
Okay.
So
Based on the size that the asset is going to appear when you're in the experience.
yes.
Okay, because I just saw it's only like a couple 100K, right?
Yeah. So yeah, this was not a good example, but there are examples where there are images of 4 MB, 5 MB.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right here, this is already optimized. This is already 400 KB. This is fine. But when you're hitting image sizes beyond 1 MB, right, and then you have tens or 20s of such images, then it does start impacting the loading speed, because then you have to download 20 MB even before you can start the scene. Right.
Right.
When you can reduce that 20 MB to 4 MB, it really impacts the loading time.
Right.
Right. And the same argument for videos.
Right. And those are on that. There's a page for that, right? With all of the recommended,
Yeah.
yeah.
So all of these tips and tricks that I'm telling you, all of them are here under image optimizations and under video optimizations. There are also links to both of these tiny PNG and Squoosh. Use either
Okay.
of these.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah. And even for
s-
video, we have a tool, Handbrake. You can use Handbrake to reduce the size and all.
Oh, right. Good. Yeah, Handbrake's great. How about I know we're getting close to time. What about viewing all of this, since this is WebXR, in a VR headset?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess it's as simple as going to the URL that's generated, when it gets published, and go into that URL in the VR headset. But I haven't actually done that. I need to do it. I mean, how does it work with the 6DoF? Have you all tested that?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. So the headsets which work that we have tested are listed over here. You can go to compatibility, platform compatibility matrix and headsets. These are the headsets we know it works with.
Okay,
There's no
cool.
reason it doesn't work with more headsets, just that we haven't tested it them yet. Because this is an experience that works on Chrome or any browser. So any headset that you have that has a browser, just type this URL there and you're good. It should work,
Yeah,
right?
can't wait to try
And
it.
in the headset, as soon as you enter the space, you need to open the menu on the top right corner and click on VR mode. The moment you hit the VR mode, you will be into the browser will expand and get you into the whole 6DoF scene where you can walk around and teleport and click on items.
Okay.
One very important thing to remember about headsets, by the way, is this. Everything that we saw here, by the way, works in headsets. There are certain elements though which don't work in headsets. I have listed them down over here. So we have a list of universal elements. These are the ones which are mainly used. The 360 image, 360 video, image, video, text elements, everything that we saw in this webinar. Then there are a few HTML only elements. These elements don't work in VR mode on the headset, right? The reason is these elements depend on HTML and some of them depends on the features on your phone. Headsets necessarily don't have those features, right? So when you are in the immersive mode in your headset, things like the quiz element. So if you're creating a quiz with normal text elements, it will work, by the way. We have another element called quiz. That this specific element won't work in a headset's immersive mode. It will work in the headset browser mode, but not in the immersive mode. Then we have elements like media uploads. We have elements like action bar. These won't work in the headset. So if you are designing specifically for headsets, keep this page in mind. It's in build your metaverse elements, and make sure you restrict yourself to the universal elements. These universal elements are universal. They work everywhere.
Got it.
Right. And yeah, there was one more question which I haven't covered, which is your how do you integrate with ready-made spaces from somewhere else, right? So we have this thing called embed HTML. You can use this a lot. So I'm going to click on this, add an embed HTML to the scene. What this does is it allows you to embed any other web page onto this experience, right? So let's say you have a game, a ready-made game which runs on HTML. I don't have it, so I'm going to use a Wikipedia page, for example. Right, so Wikipedia, let's see, is there some nice page? Helicopter crash, no, not that nice. Yeah, Carlton Bridge. So I'm going to click on this, copy this link, go over here and try to embed this page over here. Okay, how to embed a page? There's a guide on this over here. Integrations, embed, workflow, embed HTML snippets. Yeah, so we have a list of snippets which you can use. So let's say you want to embed a web page, simply copy this snippet, right? Control C, Control V, and then change your page link here with the page that you want to embed. So I'm going to change this with this Wikipedia page over here, right? Now we have an embed HTML, but to view it, you again need a rule. So let's say when I click on this particular library photo, I want that embed HTML to show up. So first I'm going to just rename this to library, right? And then add a rule that says when the user clicks on library, where is the library? Yeah, when library is clicked, the embed HTML should appear. That's it. So now when I preview this, because this preview is working on my desktop machine, it will work. It will work on phones, desktops. It will not work inside the VR mode. So let's go over here. Where did I place it? Yeah, here. So if I click on this, you get this page here. Right now, with these embed HTML pop-ups, you have multiple modes too. So you can choose to show an embed HTML as a pop-up instead of a full page thing. So you can click on embed HTML, change its mode to anchored pop-up, picture in picture, full screen, or full screen without close. Full screen without close is a bit scary. You have no option to close it. It opens and that's it. People want it in some cases, that's why we have it. But yeah, you have full screen, picture in picture, pop-up, and anchored. Anchored is nice. Pop-up is what we use by default. Picture in picture is also good. So picture in picture, it looks like this. It essentially opens a draggable window that you can place on the side. People use it for so sometimes for video chats. So click on this and you get this over here. Make it large. Yeah. Right. And so while you're viewing the experience, you have another pop-up over here like this that you can control the size of and move to the side. So sometimes people use this for video chats.
Ah, that's cool.
Right. So as to your question of embedding games, you can use embed HTML element for that.
Okay. When we were, I'm just backing up to when we were talking about SIGSTOF, I didn't ask about, because I logged in and you were already in as your avatar. So we were essentially, it was a multiplayer, correct?
Yes.
So and audio works. So because it asked me for permission when I entered the session. So
yeah,
so we can talk with okay, that's great. Yeah, I see it. Join call. What's join call?
Yes.
Okay.
You can join call, you can use chat too. Chat with
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
We don't have a video screen share, but we have normal screen share. So you can't share your webcam, but you can share your screen. Right. So if I join call over here, and if you were in the same link as this, I can technically share my screen, right? And you'll be able to see it on the left side.
And this is still in beta, so because I know Utsaf was showing us a Google form where we could.
This is no longer in beta. This is no longer in beta. All of these features that I showed you are not in beta, except the one with Ready Player Me. That's the one in beta.
Which one?
The space where you have to choose the avatar that looks like a human.
Right.
Human avatars are in beta, but the normal avatars are not in beta. You can use the join call as of today. You can use the chat as of today. Everything will work. You can use screen share as of today.
Got it. Well, how about that Google form that allows you to?
Yeah. So now you no longer need to depend on that Google form. If you log into your portal today, so I'm just going to go back to my portal, you will have this thing called My Metaverse Rooms. Right. So this is the easiest way to start. So we have a few ready-made rooms that you can use right away.
Oh, okay.
Right. So we have this thing called the Cozy Den, right? So if you log into a Geometry account, you will have this option of enter room. The moment you enter this room, it has a ready-made meeting space for you, right? That you can use for team meetings. You can use for showcasing videos on the white space that you have. You can place a video over there, right? You asked to select your avatar, get in, and yeah, as you can see, I can't walk through these chairs. I can't walk through these through the conference table because there's a collider box already put there, and yeah, there's a blank space here for you to place images or videos, or whatever you want to do with the space. So these are ready-made spaces for you to use. If you want to modify them in any way, you can simply click on customize. When you click on customize, you get a copy of this space into your all experiences section.
So that's to modify the actual model.
Yeah. Essentially, yeah, you get a complete copy of this experience here. You can modify it as you wish. When you click on it, you enter the editor. You get to see the whole space, the way it was set up. You can add things, you can remove things, whatever you want to do with it.
How do you so that initial space that we were in, the high rise, the floor of the building, how do you put, like, posters or videos for the where the transport controls were, like all of the signage and stuff.
These things.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So let me do that then. What I'll do now is create a copy of this room and then try to place something on the wall, right? That is the
Mhm.
question you're asking. How do you place something on the wall?
Correct.
So I'm just going to click on customize. When I click on customize, it says we are importing this to your workspace, so you can customize it. Please refresh in a few moments. So
Oh, okay.
imported. Now you can refresh the page to see it. So when I refresh it, I should see a copy of it here.
Mhm.
This is my personal copy of the cozy den. So I click on that, right? And I should enter the editor with this space open, the cozy den open, right? Now, what we want to do is place a few, let's say, posters here. So I'm going to turn off scene bound visibility because it just comes in the way. And yeah, I'm going to place something here. So click on plus, click on image, right?
Oh, okay.
Over
Okay.
here.
I got you.
Yeah. And then just
Yeah.
orient it the way you want. Click on rotate, make sure it aligns with the wall better.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So essentially, this is how you can do it. Once it aligns, you can just replace it with your poster. Right. I don't have any good looking poster. So
It's cool. I understand.
yeah. So this is how you can place things on the wall.
Mhm.
Okay. That's cool.
That's very cool. That's
Yeah.
gallery, like very, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
All right. Well, I think I'm
And
good
you can
for
pay
now.
your own space. That's great.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, that's really cool.
And if you want multiple people to be able to see each other and talk to each other, what you need to make sure of is in the deployment section, which is over here, there's this lightning icon on the top right corner. In this section, when you are deciding whether you want it to be public or whether you want social login or whether you want some other kind of authentication for it, make sure multiplayer mode is on. Multiplayer mode is what allows multiple people to be able to look at each other in the same space and for you to get that join call button. This is what controls that.
Okay.
Right? So you need to make sure this is on, and then you can also individually control whether you want audio, whether you want screen share, whether you want chat. Right? By the way, you can also send notifications to everyone who is in the room at that time. So, hey students, enter stage 1, or everyone come to the main classroom. You can send notifications from here.
Oh, in real time. Like,
Yeah, in real
okay.
time.
Okay.
And yeah, you can, by the way, so you can also control the maximum number of people you want per room. So when you have a space like this, right? Imagine 50 people in this space. You will not be able to look at the walls because there are just too many people in the space, right? So what you have this concept of room instancing. What that does is it makes a copy of the room the moment the next person enters the room. So you can say, okay, I want my space to have a maximum of, let's say, 10 people, right? And you get 3 and you say, okay, I want 2 instances of my space. What will happen is when the 11th person comes in, a new copy of the room gets created for him, and that person, him or her, and that person is going to see no one else in the room. When the 12th person comes in, the 11th and the 12th person are going to be able to see each other. The first 10 people are in one room, and from there on you create a copy of the room. So those are room instances to make sure people step on each other's toes.
Well, that's helpful for your gallery, Jason. That makes sense.
Is that also a thing for is it better user experience by limiting it to a certain number of people in terms of
yeah it is. So there are 2 reasons for behind this. Essentially, the first reason is obviously that if you have 100 people in the same room, the room is not large enough. You won't be able to see anything. The second reason is the more number of people you have, the more load it has on your device. Right? Your phone is not going to be render so many things. Your desktop is not going to be render so many people. Right? For every new person, there's a new stream that it has to track that, okay, this person is in this location, or he's walking, or he or she is walking or talking and on. Right? There's a limit to how much your desktop can handle.
Right.
Beyond a certain point, your desktop will start slowing down.
Right.
So this helps with that also.
Okay. I think I just wanted to ask one more thing, and that was about the pricing tiers.
Yeah.
Like to do everything that we did today and to be able to see the experience on an HMD, what
Yeah.
what would be the minimum tier or what would be the best tier for that?
Whatever we did today, we can do on the free tier also.
Okay.
However, if you're thinking you get more than 500 people per month in your spaces,
Okay.
then I would recommend the professional tier.
Okay. And can we per month? Can you pay per month or do you have to pay it per year? Like
You can pay
if
per
you-
month. You can pay per
Okay.
month, right? Per month.
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah,
9.
yeah. Got you.
If you pay per year, it's
Gotcha.
44.
Okay. That's reasonable. This is great. So really, wow. I kind of forgot all about the other, like now we've been doing all this 6DoF stuff. I just kind of forgot about the regular Pano place and elements and like, the first couple of experiences we did. This is pretty amazing. Are
Yeah.
there some good exterior 3D models in the repository as well?
We have a few in geometry
Okay.
assets again. But then we are creating a lot more good ones, and the way we are exposing it to everyone is via My Metaverse Rooms, because the
Okay.
My Metaverse Rooms is a lot more visible to people than geometry assets, right?
Right.
I tell you that there are assets, but then many people are not able to discover that there are so many 3D assets there. So now, whatever good models we make internally, we are just pushing them via My Metaverse Rooms.
Got you. Okay. And the Discord channel is still a good way to just kind of
Yeah,
jump in and ask questions. And
that's the perfect way. We are always there on our phones, on our desktops there.
okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, I'm good for now. Thank you
I'm
so
good too.
much.
Thank
I
you.
really, really appreciate it. This is great. And I can't wait to start creating some new stuff.
Sure, would also love to see what you end up creating. This is pretty exciting. So you're using geometry for students, for school, or what's the primary
Well,
use case?
I learned about geometry probably 2 and almost 3 years now when I was still in the graduate program at Hopkins,
Okay.
immersive storytelling and emerging technology. So Utsav came in to teach the class about the platform, and actually before he taught the class, it was just a group of us students that got asked if we were interested in doing a project, and our instructor had already met Utsav, and then I talked and I got a demo, and I worked with Utsav and I can't remember, it'll come to me in a second, but I did this project. We built out this whole thing, a historical site, and we went out to these historical sites and shot 360, and then we built it all in geometry, and we had elements that kind of floated in, and we had narration. It was kind of like a guided tour, and we used actors, and then we had some pretty unique elements where like it took you to an old voting machine, and then that had like a yes or no, and it would take you to an external site to vote, and then you close out and come back. So for an early version of the platform, I think it had some unique features in the experience, and it got a lot of press. And Hopkins, there was like a premiere like at a theater, and so it was well received. And so Tora and I are now working on one, and I think we can take it we can really step it up based on what we learned today, because it was kind of following that model a little bit with good assets. But what we can do now in 6DoF, I think, is in AR is really going to take it to the next level.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
yeah.
Looking forward to that.
So yeah, we'll definitely be happy to share once we get it up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We're always there on Discord. Any questions, just ask away.
Oh, can you send me the video? Please don't forget to send me the
Yeah.
recording.
I have the recording now. I'll
Okay.
just upload it to YouTube and share it with you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. You have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay, take care.
Bye. Take care.